Now, in Act 2, Scene 3 of your original text, set in the bedroom being shared by the two ladies, you have Angela Thompson saying to Virginia Pick, a love affair shouldn't start with love, it should start with psychoanalysis and finish with understanding.
I think that's moderately funny.
Yes, but wouldn't it be even funnier if it hadn't been lifted almost line for line from an ideal husband? Act 3, Mrs. Cheveley. Romance should never begin with sentiment, it should begin with science and end with a settlement.
I was simply adapting Wilde's dialogue to suit my situation.
Yes, well, adapting other people's words would appear to be your forte, Mr. Appleby. But wasn't it explained to you by Mr. Pastor that he thought there was a lack of imagination shown in some of your scenes, and that's why he was compelled to change them?
That's what he said, yes.
Yes. Now, didn't Mr. Williams tell you that he thought your play was too suggestive, too indirect, in fact, too smutty? And that's why he wanted to bring everything out into the open.
That's what he told me, yes, but I didn't believe him for a moment.
No. Would you not concede, Mr. Appleby, that while a thing like sex remains hidden, sly references to it make it appear dirty and hole in the corner?
No, I wouldn't.
No? But isn't that the basis of all smutty music hall humour?
Yes, I suppose it is, but...
I mean, isn't it in the nature of the beast that when you release it to full view, you can concentrate on the reality and depth of the situation rather than dwelling on its suggestive qualities?
Would you agree with that?
Well, no, I wouldn't, my lord.
No, but then no one would expect you to agree, would they, Mr. Appleby? I mean, after all, your text had been changed. No matter how it had been changed, you would have objected.
Yes, I would. But I still think it's obscene, the way it turned out. But what I really do want to object to, however, is the reflection that's been cast on my work. Now, you have chosen to read out some particularly bad notices. Now, I do have good ones, and I think it only fair to mention that fact. Besides, would Mr. Pastor or Mr. Williams have bought my play if they thought it was that bad?
Yes, but you know it is their case that they were improving your play. Now, that doesn't mean to say they thought it a bad play, just one that could be bettered.
Yes, well, that's a matter of opinion.
So you think you've written a play that can't be improved on?
Well, certainly not by making it more sexually explicit. I mean, in fact, it wasn't. It was destroyed.
Yes. Thank you.
The acts that were finally performed on stage, all this perverted behaviour, none of this was your intention, Mr. Appleby.
No, not at all.
You had no part in it whatsoever.
None at all.
Thank you, Mr. Appleby.
You may leave the witness box.
Now, Mr. Stockman, are you the chief drama critic of the London Daily News?
I am.
And how long have you held that appointment for?
9 years.
And on April the 21st, did you travel from London to Fulchester to see a performance of the play Public Lives by E.W. Rossiter in your capacity as a reviewer?
I did.
Now, are these the words you wrote in your review of this play which appeared in the Daily News on April the 22nd? One should get over the shock of seeing the naked antics of two pairs of homosexuals, male and female. It is a very perceptive play indeed.
Yes, those are my words.
So you enjoyed the play, did you?
Very much. It's not a world-shattering piece, of course, but it moves the horizons a bit. It's very entertaining and contains a serious criticism of society.
Now, did you find it or any part of it objectionable?
Certain of the jokes lack point. It's always slightly objectionable to me when humour misses its target. But that's not the kind of objectionable you mean, is it?
No, I mean obscene.
Not in the least, no.
Even those sexual antics that you referred to in your review?
No, as I said, once you've accepted that anything goes, that part of it fades away. You hardly notice it. In fact, it becomes an essential background to the words. You'd miss it if it weren't there. It's like a good score in a musical.
Yes. Now, what do you mean by it moves horizons a bit?
Well, every year in a world that is developing as fast as ours, some work of art, good, bad, or indifferent, rolls back the carpet from over the dark corners a little and reveals a little more of our human condition.
And does this play do that?
It does.
Yes. And how does it roll back the carpet?
I think in the form it uses, by completely revealing the human body and by showing us behavior that we've never seen on a stage before. It says to us, this shouldn't really be a taboo, you know. And then proceeds to show that something we thought beforehand might be objectionable is either a therapy or a drug or an errant pastime, but is quite natural. We all do it. If we don't do it, we want to do it. If we don't want to do it, we know it goes on. And if we don't know it goes on, we'd better get our heads out of the sand pretty quickly.
Yes. But you say it is all done with great humour. In fact, it is satire, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Stockman.
Mr. Stockman, I'd like you to listen to this review. The play is a loose, dreary account of three insignificant, selfish characters. It has no significance or literary merit. Do you recognize that remark?
No, I don't think I do.
Oh, that's curious, Mr. Stockman, because you wrote it.
I can't be expected to remember quotations from all my writings. I've been a theatre critic for 12 years, you know.
Can you remember what play it was that you were reviewing when you wrote that?
I suppose it was The Caretaker. That's always been quoted back at me.
Yes, it was indeed. The Caretaker, played by the distinguished English dramatist Harold Pinter. That
Yes.
play is now universally acclaimed, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So you were wrong about it?
Oh, no, I was right.
What, and all the other drama critics were wrong, and experts on drama the world round, and millions of people who've seen it and enjoyed it?
Yes, if you'd like to put it that way. There have been greater errors of judgment than that, you know.
No judgment on this play, for instance. Would that be one of them?
It is my opinion that it is a good play.
But you must admit that you could be wrong about it, Mr. Stockman.
Of course I could. My opinion was sought, and I'm giving it. You don't expect me to change my mind because other people didn't like it, do you?
No, but our opinions are fallible, are they not? And unrepresentative.
Certainly. That goes for you, too.
Now, my opinion is not being sought, Mr. Stockman.
But if this play is found to be obscene, it will be the opinion of the establishment, won't it, of which you are a part.
It will be the opinion of 12 members of the jury who've been selected to represent their peers.
But then it will become a precedent and will go into
Mr.
law.
Stockman, Mr. Lotterby, you are not here to conduct a Socratic dialogue, and you are not here, Mr. Stockman, to give us your opinion on the process of the law. Simply answer learned counsel's questions.
You said once you had got over the shock. Now, what shock are you talking about?
I would have thought I had made that abundantly clear.
Well, you didn't, Mr. Stockman, and I, for one, would appreciate it if we could have less of your arrogance and a little more cogent and thoughtful answers to my questions. What shock?
The shock of seeing simulated acts of a homosexual nature performed naked in the theatre.
Yes, and this you call rolling back the carpet, revealing the dark corners?
I did. Perhaps crossing new frontiers would have been a more appropriate expression.
Oh, I think I'm quite happy with dark corners, Mr. Stockman. We should expose all the dark corners, should we?
In time, yes.
No matter whom we affront, no matter whom we shock.
It is the duty of the artist, among other things, to shock and affront.
And disturb and paralyze with fear, torment and drive mad. Would you count those among the artist's duties?
If it happens, it happens.
Well, I have heard that answer with some horror, Mr. Stockman. Coming as it does from a critic of your established reputation.
What is happening in a theatre, or on a piece of canvas, is merely a representation of life. My sense of horror is reserved for those tragedies and disasters that really happen to people outside, on battlefields, after floods, in prisons.
Yes, well, it may surprise you to know, Mr. Stockman, that I completely agree with you there, but that, as you well know, is an entirely different question. Now, you said either we all do it, or we want to do it, or we know it goes on, or our heads are in the sand. Now, what category do you fit into, Mr. Stockman?
The third.
Which one was that?
We know it goes on, my lord.
Oh.
Are you sure you don't fall into either of the first two categories as well?
My lord, quite apart from the impropriety of that remark, what on earth is its relevance to this charge?
If this witness has those tendencies, his evidence is bound to be coloured by them.
Well, I'm not a homosexual, and I've never wanted it.
I rule that question irrelevant, and I invite you to withdraw it, Mr. Lotterby.
Oh, no, don't withdraw it. There's no slur these days. Or haven't you heard, between consenting adults?
Will you be quiet?
I'm sorry.
I withdraw the question unreservedly, my lord. I regret that it was put.
Now, members of the jury, you will eradicate from your mind any reflection upon this witness's good character that was implied in that last question. So far as you're concerned, it was not asked.
I put it to you, Mr. Stockman, that your views about what should go on the public stage are a danger to society.
Utter nonsense.
You've just admitted that you think artists have no right, no duty to respect the feelings of their audiences. They can manhandle their minds with impunity for all you care.
If truth manhandles the mind, then I'm for it.
Truth, Mr. Stockman? I have no further questions.
No re-examination, my lord.
You may go.
I don't think I could be regarded as a successful man of the theatre. I don't have a penny to my name. But I suppose I could have done a bit better financially if I'd given in to compromise.
What do you mean by compromise?
Well, there have been occasions when I've been offered a play which was obviously going to make a lot of money at the box office, but was so awful, I mean in such terrible bad taste, that I've turned it down.
Yes. So what sort of plays have you directed, Mr. Williams?
Well, I suppose it would be called experimental theatre, although I don't like the word. Plays of deep meaning where sometimes the literal meaning is obscure, but where a new experience is shared with an audience.
Yes. Have you ever directed sex plays?
I'm sorry, I don't recognise that category. All plays are sex plays.
Now, what do you mean by that?
What I say, all plays are sex plays. They are sexy. If they're not, they are not true to our existence. I mean, I am sex, you are sex, the gentlemen of the jury are sex, the usher is sex, and you, my lord, you are sex, and sex is you.
Are you obsessed by sex, Mr. Williams?
Now, listen, now, I am as obsessed by sex as I am by love and hate and appetite and loyalty and repression and injustice. And when I say that you are sex, my lord, I could equally well say that you are love and you are hate and you are repression and injustice. And, of course, compassion and mercy.
If you mean that a person contains within himself a capacity for all these qualities, it would seem to me that you're stating a truism.
Yes, but it is part of the theatre's job to reveal to people these capacities within them. You see.
So you are not a man of the commercial theatre, Mr. Williams?
Well, so my bank manager tells me.
Yes. In fact, it would be true to say, would it not, that this search for the inner truth has cost you dear?
Yes, it has.
Yes. Now, what about Mr. Pastor? Is he a man of the commercial theatre?
Well, yes, he's a producer. He naturally wants a return on his capital.
Yes. Now, can you tell us all the sequence of events that led up to the production of this play?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Pastor received this play from Mr. Appleby. He read it, he liked it, he called me and he asked me to direct it. Well, at first I liked it. It had a wit, you know, a kind of panache, but there was something deeper which intrigued me. Now, and Mr. Pastor was quite happy with the play, but I was not. You see, its sexual nature was embarrassing me. And I was of the opinion that, well, it was a sniggering piece of theatre because it made nasty fun at the expense of people who had sexual hang-ups. Then, one day, right at the end of rehearsal, I had it. I knew exactly what was wrong with it. It had to be played, or some of it, in the nude, with the characters actually performing their sexual acts with each other.
Yes. Well, how did Mr. Pastor react to that?
Well, he stood by me. He saw it through, and it worked, and I still say it worked. And there's nothing obscene about it. In fact, it's removed any obscenity there was in the play. It's now completely pure.
The case of the Queen against Pastor and Williams will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court.